Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Monsters in Love, Why Your Partner Sometimes Drives You Crazy, and What You Can Do About It, by Resmaa Menakem, MSW, LICSW, SEP. Narrated by Diana Blue. Publisher's Note: in this audio edition, you will hear references to figures present in the print and ebook formats of the book. From One Monster to Another. Monsters in Love was first published in 2015 under the title Rock the Boat. Back then, Barack Obama was President of the United States. Hong Kong was a bastion of freedom and stability. Kim and Kanye were newlyweds. Jamie Foxx and Katie Holmes were a happy, recently engaged couple. Few people outside of Indiana knew who Pete Buttigieg and Chasten Glesman were. Abortion was legal in all 50 U.S. states, and marriage equality had just been made the law of the land. I'm completing this new preface in 2022. Although many aspects of our world are vastly different now, nothing has changed about the essential ways in which we human beings act, react, think, experience, and relate to each other. So, although I've updated and expanded this new edition, its fundamental approaches and insights remain unchanged as well. Over the past few years, my book, My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies, was published, and I'm grateful to say, hit many bestseller lists. This led to my somatic abolitionism blog at resmaa.com/somatic-learnings, to the spread of somatic abolitionism, to my book, The Quaking of America, an embodied guide to navigating our nation's upheaval and racial reckoning, and to many new opportunities for healing racialized trauma. That is currently the primary focus of my work, but it is not the only focus. I'm a healer. My work involves helping people heal from trauma, grow closer, build discernment and resilience, and grow up. Today, some of my work continues to focus on couples in committed relationships. Although I'm a healer like you, I'm also a monster. More about this in a few sections. That's why I knew that it was important to create this new, expanded edition, and to give it a more accurate and more compelling title and subtitle. Some of the experiences, practices, and concepts you'll hear about in Monsters in Love also appear in My Grandmother's Hands and in other things I've written. This is no accident. What can work to heal racialized trauma can also help couples to grow closer and to grow up together. Some of these include the 5 anchors. These can help you to slow down, stay present, and hold on to yourself when things start to cook in your relationship. Guidance for paying close attention to what you experience in your body. Clean pain and discomfort versus dirty pain. Pain that leads to healing versus pain that creates more conflict and difficulty. How moments of conflict create both peril and possibility. How you and your partner can each act from the best parts of yourselves. Practices for keeping your body healthy and alert. How to begin seeing other people as they actually are, rather than how you wish, fear, or imagine them to be. How you and your partner, separately and together, can discover unfolding purpose. If you, or you and your partner, are already doing some of the work of somatic abolitionism, then you may already be familiar with these experiences and concepts. Life reps. situation life presents you with that force you up against yourself and require you to choose either the clean pain and discomfort of growth or the dirty pain of harm. Invited reps. Practices that you choose to practice and repeat in order to condition and temper your body and mind. Primal reps. Foundational body-centered practices that make you more aware of your body and the energies that move through it. Geopathic stresses. The cultural, social, political, institutional, and environmental stresses that weather our bodies, minds, and intimate relationships. If you've read My Grandmother's Hands, or The Quaking of America, or my somatic abolitionism blog, you may discover that your experience has yielded insights, grounding, and discernment that can help you as you move through this volume. I want to add a note on what I learned from rewriting parts of this book. Some of the original language I used had subtle, negative overtones about race, gender, sexual orientation, and body image that I now regret. I am grateful for the chance to correct these items. If I missed some others, please point them out to me. I continue to accept the challenges of my community to do and be better. Not perfect, but emergently better. It's now been 9 years since I completed the original manuscript of Rock the Boat. I'm still happily married to Maria, with whom I shared wedding vows back in 1997. Because we're a committed couple, we still drive each other crazy sometimes, but each year, that commitment has deepened. We are now both in our mid-50s, and our kids, who sometimes drive us crazy and vice versa, are adults. In less than a decade, Maria and I will both be seniors. While that prospect doesn't thrill us, we look forward to growing old together and to continuing to grow up together. I wish you and your partner, or future partner, this same growth, along with plenty of opportunities for deep sweetness, profound intimacy, sensational sex, and body-quaking laughter at your own shared monsterhood. Resmaa Menakem, Minneapolis, 2022. Welcome to Monster World. Do you want your lover to rock your world? Good. Do you want to rock theirs? Even better. But rocking isn't always a thrilling ride. Rocking creates conflict and discomfort, challenge and opportunity, peril and possibility. Plus, there's much more to an intimate relationship than just rocking. In each new moment together, each relationship also has a direction, a charge, a weight, a speed, and a texture. Often these create discomfort. Sometimes they drive us crazy. This book is about the reality of marriage and other committed, intimate relationships. It offers no comforting fantasies, false promises, or quick and easy fixes. Instead, it offers you and your partner a chance to make your relationship and your lives bigger and fuller. This book challenges several common misperceptions about what makes for a successful partnership. It also rocks the boat of psychotherapy, calling out therapists who don't bring their best to their clients. Every challenge in this book is based not on theory or fads or hopes, but on how relationships actually work. Every challenge in this book applies to all committed couples, regardless of any member's gender identity or lack of identity or body configuration. Who am I to tell you how relationships actually work? I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a divorce and family mediator, and a certified military family life consultant. For 24 years, I've worked with hundreds of couples, families, individuals, and organizations. I've also served as a behavioral health director for African American Family Services in Minneapolis and the director of counseling services for Tubman Family Alliance, a domestic violence treatment center also in Minneapolis, where I developed its holistic model and many of its violence prevention programs. I spent 2 years working for a U.S. military contractor in Afghanistan, designing and overseeing counseling programs for civilian contractors and managing the wellness and counseling services on 53 U.S. military bases. As a certified military family life consultant, I also worked with members of the military and their families on issues related to family living, deployment, and returning home. You may have seen me on The Oprah Winfrey Show or Dr. Phil, where I appeared as an expert on family dynamics and couples in conflict. If you live in the Twin Cities, you also may have listened to the radio show I co-hosted for 10 years with former U.S. Congressman and now Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, or my solo show, Resmaa in the Morning, both on KMOJ-FM. More recently, you may have heard me on podcasts such as Krista Tippett's On Being, Dan Harris's 10% Happier, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, Sounds True's Walking Together, Sam Fragrosso's Talk Easy, Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History, Eric Zimmer's The One You Feed, or Pilar Gerasimo and Dallas Hartwig's The Living Experiment. This is about getting real and serious. Committed relationships can be gritty and in our faces. Sometimes they can seem dangerous. This is how they're meant to work. They're not always joyful or serene. If you already know this, continue on. If you're unsure but curious, continue on. But if you're committed to avoiding grit, or challenge, or conflict, now is the time to step away. From this book, Not Your Partner. Be forewarned. If what you strive for in your relationship is comfort, this book is not going to help you. Like committed relationships, this book is gritty and down to earth. It's 100% clinically sound. It's also 100% simple, straightforward, and bullshit-free. If all you want is a pleasant and nurturing experience, put down this book and get a massage. If you want a relationship that helps you and your partner grow into the people you most want each other to be, welcome aboard. A lot of books about relationships aren't serious. This book is. I'm not saying other books have no value. A gardening book that only talks about weeding and mulching has some value, but it's not serious about the entire ecology of gardening. You can buy a book that teaches you how to communicate better, or to understand cultural differences, or to learn men's and women's different needs and ways of thinking. Most of these books have some value, but they're not serious guides to the difficult, painful, and potentially transformative business of growing up as partners and as people. If you're listening to this book to get some new tools to add to your relationship toolbox, this book will shock the shit out of you. You and your partner don't need a toolbox. Instead, in this book, you'll open a toy box and take out some new toys, things to explore, investigate, and share with your partner. But take careful note. These are toys for adults, not children. Each one will encourage you and your partner to grow up. Just by being who they are, your lover forces you into making choices in which you either grow up or don't. By being who you are, you force them to make the same kind of choices. This happens over and over, day after day. Each time it happens, each of you has to choose to grow or not. You can't make your partner grow up, and they can't grow up for you. When life, or your partner, pushes you into growing up, you usually won't want to do it. If you're like most people, your first impulse will be to take it personally and take offense. You may try to make the conflict into their problem, their pathology. Over time, you may grow rageful or even violent. Just by being together, you and your partner will also shine light on each other's limitations. This is always painful at first. If you're like most couples, you'll try to unwind each other's limitations. This can be terrifying. So terrifying that, at times, you lash out at each other. Instead, both of you need to grow up. This book is about choosing to grow up. That's what makes it serious. Marriage, or any committed relationship, is not for the weak or timid. Each of you, without even trying, will naturally rock the boat of your relationship. Sometimes this will be uncomfortable or painful. Sometimes it will seem almost unbearable. Yet this is exactly what is supposed to happen. We've all been taught that the best thing to do in relationships is not rock the boat. Leave things alone, don't push, and everybody will calm down and your situation will become comfortable and familiar again. With many small, daily issues, this is exactly the right thing to do. But a strong partnership isn't always about keeping your boat as stable as possible and keeping you and your partner aligned. It's also about staying present and upright when the wind and waves are tossing you around. When it comes to matters of integrity, there will be times when you need to rock the boat, or let it rock you. And sometimes, in the worst of storms, when your boat is being tossed about, trying to keep it stable can actually sink it. Which is why, hard as it is, we're better off seeing our partners and ourselves as who we really are. Welcome to the Monster Fairy Tale. Your partner is a monster, but you already know that. You're a monster too, and so am I. Stay with me. I'll explain. In the film version of Frankenstein, when the monster comes to life in the scientist's lab, he's curious and innocent, like a baby. Everything seems new and wondrous to him. But of course, he's not a baby. He's large and strong. He can control his limbs, but he doesn't know how much trouble they can cause. He doesn't understand many of his body's signals. He doesn't realize his power or how to control it. He's dangerous and doesn't know it. He escapes from the lab and wanders off. He ends up by a lake where he meets a small blind girl who gives him a handful of flowers. The girl and the monster toss the flowers into a lake one by one and watch them float. Both of them are happy until the monster runs out of flowers. Then he picks up the girl and throws her in the lake, thinking she can float too, like flowers and boats. But she can't swim. She struggles and drowns. The monster is confused and miserable. From here, his life goes from bad to worse. In committed relationships, you and your partner, and your neighbor and their partner, and my wife and I, are all like Frankenstein's monster. When you and your partner first got to know each other, you were curious about each other. You played with each other, and you focused on and responded to your similarities. Your relationship seemed new and open, and its possibilities appeared infinite. At some point, a commitment was made. Then, suddenly, life started to get more and more difficult. The two of you, just by being who you are, somehow created conflicts. You tried your best to be loving, but your efforts often led to disaster. At times, you may have been tempted to resort to manipulation or cruelty. This didn't just happen once. It's happened over and over. The two of you became confused and miserable. It often seemed like you were drowning. Now you sometimes look at your partner and think, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Your partner looks at you and has the same thought. Looking in the mirror, you sometimes think, "What the hell is wrong with me?" Your relationship, or your lover, or you, have become the thing you most fear. But the reality is, nothing is wrong. This is exactly how committed relationships work. We think that when people have a problem in their marriage, it's because of an issue. You and your partner don't communicate well, or your different backgrounds and views of the world get in each other's way, or your masculine energy conflicts with your partner's feminine energy, or you're Muslim and he's Jewish, or the two of you just grew apart. This is most people's understanding of how the world works. This is also most therapists' understanding of how the world works. But it's only part of the picture. If it were the whole picture, then gay, lesbian, and transgender couples who practice the same religion and who talk to each other regularly about their emotions would live charmed lives. But they're in my office too, asking me, "What the hell is wrong with us?" It's my job to tell them, nothing is wrong. Couples typically look for the answer as to why they're unhappy with each other. Often, they go to a therapist to assist them in their search. They hope that the therapist will help them explore beneath the couch cushions of their relationship and find the lost or missing keys. But this isn't how intimate relationships work. It's not how authentic therapy works either. Partners look for the answer because they haven't yet conditioned and tempered themselves to move through the conundrums and emotional bottlenecks that are built into intimate relationships. This conditioning is vital for the health of their relationship. Encouraging this conditioning and tempering and supporting people as they move into and through it is therapists' most important job. The heart of emotional stalemates. If you're like most couples, you and your lover don't have a communication problem. You know perfectly well what your partner wants and doesn't want, what they care about and don't care about, what pisses them off and what makes them happy. They know the same things about you. Yes, you have issues and differences. Addressing these can reduce your day-to-day conflicts and smooth out your lives, but that won't necessarily keep you from being monsters to each other. That's because, in marriage, we monsters naturally create one interlocking conundrum after another. These repeated crises, these life reps, as I call them, are built into intimate relationships. Each crisis challenges both monsters to stand in their own integrity, to grow, and often to face a horde of angry townspeople, family, in-laws, and friends who want to burn up their asses. Each life rep forces the two monsters up against each other, grinding them together, pressuring and squeezing and pulverizing them until they completely block each other's moves. This creates what is often called an emotional stalemate or emotional bottleneck, and it hurts like hell. People will do almost anything to try to free themselves from this situation, including blaming their partners, manipulating them, trying to control them, having affairs, abusing drugs or alcohol, or any of 100 other things, gaslighting their partners, or even becoming violent. Over time, these tactics may even become part of the structure of the relationship. All of us in committed relationships, including therapists, other healers, and spiritual leaders, experience these same temptations. But none of these tactics works to help us grow up. In fact, they all deepen the conflict. What each of us needs to do is grow. We need to learn to become responsible for soothing the aches and pains of our own heart, rather than ask, or expect or demand that our partner soothe them for us. If you don't learn this, your emotional stalemate with your partner can continue for years, or even decades. You have been doing this dance for so long that it seems familiar and comforting, even though you both know something has to change. Yet, you both also know that a split-the-difference compromise or find a middle ground solution is impossible. The process can lead the two of you to eventually reach critical mass, the place where the pressure and stresses are so great that something has to give. Someone decides that they can't go on in the same way. Some spring-loaded energy that has been building up, perhaps for a very long time, is released. Often, that energy has the power to metabolize the clean pain and transform the relationship. And then, something important changes. In a moment of peril and possibility, one of you makes a leap toward greater balance and integrity. Moments such as these test your resolve and your limitations. It would be great if the two of you could make the leap together, but this almost never happens. Usually one person makes the leap alone, while their partner shouts at them, "You're an idiot. I'm not leaping into the water with you. If you leap, you're leaping alone, asshole." After the person makes this leap, their partner almost always demands that they leap back and return to the old status quo pattern. But they don't. Their spine straightens, their eyes brighten, and they hold their ground. They don't run away, but stand firm inside the relationship. They communicate to their partner, "I love you with my whole heart, but I'm not going back to things the way they were." This knowing and clarity and the accompanying physical changes is often called a brightening of self. Now, something else has to give. The other person has to either develop new emotional skills or shrink away. Sometimes the other partner does leap. If they do, there is the possibility to create a stronger partnership and greater trust, intimacy, and respect. Sometimes the other partner doesn't leap and leaves the relationship, only to come up against the same problems and limitations with their next partner, or someone else who gets close to them. Sometimes they find a way to coax the partner who leaped to come back into the old, unsatisfactory arrangement, one involving great pain, but also the comfort of familiarity. If the partner does let themselves get coaxed back, the partnership will have less trust, intimacy, and respect than before, and more anger, heaviness, and anxiety. Like I said, marriage is not for the weak or the timid. The process I just described, with a focus on emergence and transformation, is the subject of this book. This book can help you create a stronger, deeper, more loving partnership, not through some magic formula, but by accepting the pain and growth that committed relationships demand of us. You'll hear this pain and growth illustrated in dozens of couples' stories throughout this book. All of these stories grew out of my clinical practice as a psychotherapist. Some, such as the story of Melissa and Kim in Chapter 2, are adapted from actual encounters with clients in my therapy office. I've changed names and multiple details to protect clients' privacy and identities. Other stories, such as the story of Felicia and Andre in Chapter 22, are composites of events in the lives of multiple couples. Still, others, such as the story of Camilla in Chapter 23, are fictional, provided solely to illustrate a key concept or process. When a story is purely fictional and illustrative, This will be clear in context. In this book, I use the words partner, lover, spouse, and mate to mean the person you're in a committed relationship with, whether you're married or not.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?